Good morning, and welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. If you are new to SMUUCh and want to know more about our church, please fill out the Get in Touch form using the link in our video description. Or if you're interested in learning more about Unitarian Universalism, please join us for our Just the Basics class on May 9th. For all of you joining us live this morning, feel free to start posting your joys and sorrows now if you would like to have the names read aloud during the candle lighting. And now, a few announcements from our minister.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Rose, the minister here at SMUUCh. It is a joy to see you and an honor to be broadcast into your homes. Just a few announcements this morning. First of all, you may know that we at church have a beautiful, functioning food pantry that is volunteer-run and one of many examples of how we live our values. The pantry is looking for one member of the congregation to serve on the Pantry Advisory Committee. Please submit your name to Yvonne Gibbons or get in touch with the office to get connected to her, and then the executive committee will make a decision. You would not be serving as a governing body or make any decisions. You would simply be making recommendations and be a spokesperson for the community. And now we have a special message from Dale Trott, your current board president, to give you a Dandelion campaign update and some good news.
Hi, I'm Dale Trott, your current board president. And yes, I'm fully vaccinated so that the worship team here is protected. And speaking of the team, I just want to give a big shout out to the folks that have put this production on. I've been here for a few minutes beforehand, and I just think they're doing a fantastic job. Of course, I have to admit, there have been times at home when I've actually watched the service in my pajamas, but it's nice when you can do it. But I can't wait to get back into sanctuary. I'm here this morning to talk to you about our current stewardship campaign, which is dubbed the Dandelion Campaign. If you've been around this campus here, you understand we are a Dandelion church. Even though it's been a weird year here at SMUUCh, there's been a lot going on in the background that you haven't seen. We've been able to make major roof repairs. We're in the process of upgrading our bathrooms, and all the classrooms have been sorted and organized. Just yesterday, there were about 25 people here who were doing a lot of cleanup and leaf blowing, and we put tables together, benches together, made out of recycled plastic. So the place is getting up to snuff as far as when we come back to the summer and we get out of our COVID cocoon. The reopening committee's been hard at work laying out a process so that we can return to our normal services by late summer. The past week, your board gave tentative approval to allow limited indoor programming over the summer to aid people in connecting to this beloved church community. The good news is that when we reopen in the late summer, it will even be better than it was before because you'll have the option to continue to view the service online as you can at the present time. You know, over the past year and a half, our church has really been changing. We've stepped up to the plate to have a greater impact on our community. This includes the services we provide to Project 1020, the homeless shelter, and the establishment of a functioning food pantry. We've really got a good thing going here, and I'm so proud of what we've accomplished, particularly with the way we've moved the needle on homelessness in Johnson County. This church needs to be here. We truly are a courageous church. Now, when I mention our church to strangers, they reply, "Aren't you the church that fill in the blank?" Whether it's the food pantry or whether it's a shelter. I'm very proud of that. From the beginning of the pandemic, we feared that our financial resources would take a hit due to related impacts to our members' income. And we were right. So we cut back on our expenses over the past year and applied for and received help through the federal Paycheck Protection Program. That allowed us to at least fill part of the gap between our normal budget and our pandemic budget. At this point, it looks like we will make it through the end of the fiscal year in pretty good shape. That brings me back to the stewardship campaign. which this year has been chaired by my good friend Dave Houston. He's got a good team of smoochers to support him. The campaign kicked off back on March 21st, and as of today, we've received about a third of the pledges that we expect, and we've already reached about 50% of our goal of about $360,000. So if you're among those who still need to get your pledge in, don't delay. Also, please look at your Fair Share Guide, which was included in our stewardship letter, and consider upping your pledge along with so many of your fellow smoochers. In fact, last time I checked with our church administrator, about 45% of the pledges that have come in so far have been increased over last year. And if you're visiting us online, we invite you to participate in our annual stewardship campaign so that we can keep our services online for you. The campaign will finish up in early May, and by that time, we hope to have all the pledges in. Again, these pledges are for next year's budget, which begins July 1 and runs through June of 2022. Once we know the amount that we have to work with, the board will finalize our budget for next year. As I think most of you know, the pandemic has crimped our ability to grow as a church for obvious reasons. We've lost several members through their passing, and some members have moved away during the year for various reasons. Of course, this is a normal process, but in a year when we're not able to add significant numbers to our membership, the pool of potential pledgers has decreased. So again, my appeal to you today is for you to seriously consider increasing your pledge over last year, if you can. This will be a tremendous help for us in moving the church into the next phase of our emergent year with continued growth and exciting programming. I truly believe our best years are ahead of us. See you soon. And now, here's a short video reminder about the Fair Share program.
Direction from our board and reopening committee, the Dandelion campaign would like to do something we have not been able to do in over a year, which is invite you to come to church on a Saturday to gather as a congregation for the sole purpose of celebrating that we are surviving this year, that it is becoming a little bit safer to gather and to get you back to your church community. The Dandelioners have decided that they will host an outdoor picnic, bandstand, and talent show on the evening of Saturday, June 5th, with a rain check date of Saturday, June 12th. We will be requiring masks and that everyone bring their own food and drink to enjoy on their little blanket. This is a whole church event, meaning we will work hard to accommodate the needs of all, 0 to 102, so that we can do what we so badly need to do, which is be together, see each other, enjoy each other, and start coming back into the fold of the community. Because together, we're better. Together, we are a courageous church. Today, on Earth Day, we celebrate our beautiful and sacred earth. Let us begin with a moment of centering, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, setting your own little intention for this hour. Come, let us worship. Please join us for our opening hymn, number 121, We Will Build a Land.
Go free, where the oil and gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people too bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-rolling stream. Come, build a land where the mantle shall roll down like waters, and peace.
All you need is a candle, a spark, and some sort of special chalice. And some parental supervision.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. And so now please enjoy this 3-minute video.
Relationships with other species to extremes. It's called symbiosis. When this relationship is beneficial to both organisms, it's known as mutualism. Mutualism can be seen in most ecosystems and between all sorts of organisms. Plants and fungi, animals and plants live closely with sea anemones, animals that use their stinging tentacles to catch prey. The anemone releases chemicals into the water to attract the clownfish, which is protected from the lethal sting of the anemone by a protective mucus coating. This allows the clownfish to live in the safety of the anemone's tentacles, protected from predators. Drives off intruders, like the butterfly fish, stopping them from eating the anemone. Exists between the goby fish and pistol shrimp. The shrimp digs and cleans a burrow in the sand, in which the goby lives and lays its eggs. The pistol shrimp has poor vision. Whilst the shrimp is digging, the goby keeps watch. It touches the shrimp with its tail to warn it of approaching predators, and both retreat into their burrow. Mutualism can produce surprising relationships and strong interdependence between species, each helping the other so that both can survive.
This is the time where we expand the caring love of our congregation, where we draw to heart and mind those in our midst who are suffering and those who feel the sweet relief of their burdens easing. Today, we meet with heavy hearts for another shooting, this time in a place of work that was known to be staffed by members of the Sikh community. Heavy hearts for the terror which gun violence has unleashed on our nation and our world. We have heavy hearts for all who grieve, all for whom dreams are deferred, for all the ways America never was America. We have heavy hearts as our nation struggles to shed these chains of violence, cruelty, abuse, and neglect. But we also meet with hearts of strength, hearts that beat with all the powerful and peaceful voices whose sole objective simply is survival and the relief from the threat of violence. We extend our gratitude for all who will not be quiet about the cruelty and racism, which is an ever-present part in our world. I invite you to take a moment to draw to mind someone for whom all of the current events touch. The communities in Indianapolis who lost elders, fathers, grandmothers, teachers, babysitters, all Black mothers, sons, someone in your own life who you desperately want to open their heart, the entire Black community on whose bodies this age-old original sin of our nation is dancing. We think of the cities of Minneapolis and Chicago who have been reliving trauma after trauma. In Minneapolis, where there's not just one killing on trial, but the soul of a nation. We hold in our hearts all who are doing the painful and implausible work of being hopeful, as we as a country and as a people set boundaries and limitations and systems of accountability. We think of all who seek to push this country forward into accountability, justice, and growth. For we seek a world in which those who take very seriously their call to protect and serve humanity could be grateful to be held accountable, pushing all the time for their own reform, pushing for the abolition of anything that does not value life, and build trust, holding bright before us our covenant with each other that we will do what is right, because we are beholden to humanity. Today we hold this pain, we face the world as it is and grieve. We lift up our hearts despite it all and sing of the world we dream of. And as always, we never cease to rejoice in the exquisite beauty in this world, as small or life-changing as each piece of beauty might be. Now we invite you to enjoy this very special song from Sweet Honey in the Rock, Issei Barnwell's group singing Ella's song.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I need to be just one in the number as we stand against tyranny. To me, young people come first. They come first. They have the courage where we fail. If I can just shine a light on as they carry us through the gale, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard. At times I can be quite difficult. I'll bow to no man's word. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Come on, sing. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. 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 We will not rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until. Come on, sing now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it
Please join me for a moment of silence followed by spoken word. Please put your feet flat on the floor, close your eyes, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. As you breathe out, send all your worries, your stress, your anger straight down into the earth. Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light. Earth, teach me suffering as old stones suffer with memory. Earth, teach me humility as blossoms are humble with beginning. Earth, teach me caring as the mother who secures her young. Earth, teach me courage as the tree which stands all alone. Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground. Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle which soars in the sky. Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall. Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring. Earth, teach me to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life. Earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields weep with rain. Just take 3 more big, beautiful, deep breaths. Enjoying this moment of peacefulness, enjoying the feeling of being in your body, paying reverence to the other beings in the room with you. Perhaps that's just yourself. Turn the corners of your lips up. You may open your eyes. Blessed be, and amen. And now please comment in the comment section of the live chat your joy or sorrow. Remember that this moment of sharing happens online and remains public for all of our viewers joining us today. To join us further together in the beloved community, we will read aloud some of the posted joys and sorrows while I light the candles.
Marjorie lights a candle of joy for her daughter Beverly's birthday. Diane would like to light a candle of remembrance for her daughter, Ginny Myers Cannon, who would have celebrated her 39th birthday yesterday, April 17th. Jim has a candle of joy. Last night, he got to hug 2 dear friends for the first time in over a year. He says thank you to science. Ashley would like to light a candle. She started a new job last week, and it has been wonderful. She feels embraced by her new coworkers. Rachel has a joy that her child, Rome, is home from the hospital. Marcia has a candle that we all may find peace. Danny has a candle of gratitude for all the helpers at church yesterday. And we will light the remaining candles for all the joys and sorrows posted in the chat and for those that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts.
Teach the children. We don't matter so much, but the children do. Show them daisies and the pale hepatica. Teach them the taste of sassafras and wintergreen, the lives of the blue sailors, mallow, sunbursts, and moccasin flowers, and the frisky ones, inkberry, lamb's quarters, blueberry, and the aromatic ones, rosemary and oregano. Give them peppermint to put in their pockets as they go to school. Give them the fields and the woods and the possibility of the world salvaged from the lords of profit. Stand them in the stream, head them upstream, and rejoice as they learn to love this green space they live in, its sticks and leaves, and then the silent, beautiful blossoms. Attention is the beginning of devotion.
Nearly 200 years ago, Charles Darwin made his famous trip from England to the Galapagos Islands of Ecuador, a tropical cluster which teemed with life. 9,000 different species woven together in a web of interdependence. Birds with every length of beak, fish of every color, insects of every size. When humans were introduced to these lush islands, they found thousands upon thousands of the world's largest tortoises, which can grow up to 6 feet long and weigh a ton. They live to be up to 150 years, and they themselves are called Galapagos, which means tortoises. Of course, the Galapagos tortoises are now endangered, and the ones who do live no longer live to be 150 or so big. Without their web of life around them, they do not do as well. Darwin's science played a pivotal role in the popular understanding of evolutionary biology. Basically, he introduced a branching pattern of evolution which resulted from a process he called natural selection, governed by what he called the struggle for existence. These fundamental principles were a powerful commentary, of course, not just on the science world, but also on the world of religion. Thus, he spoke not only to biology, but he also smashed a significant hole in the world of the origin of the species. And so we often find both science and religion are speaking to the very crux of our deepest questions, the questions of our origins, our humanity, the interdependent web of all life itself, and how we should relate to it. Indeed, both science and religion touch on some of our deepest and most fundamental and evocative questions. What is our place in the universe? How did the earth come to be? What are humans? How do we coexist as humans with each other and with the rest of the ecosystem? And what are we called to do on this earth? How should we be with the interdependent web of all life? Now, we UUs don't have that same tension between evolution and religion because the mysteries of the natural world hold many of the answers we need to our spiritual questions. And we have no problem seeing within the branching of the species the veins in the leaf, seeing in the patterns of the watershed the great patterns of life running underneath our own skin. This is the makings of something called an eco-theology, which is the wedding of the spiritual and the natural. Eco-theology asks us to reevaluate our relationship with nature, seek to move us forward from the environmental degradation cycles in which we currently live, and open us up to a resacralization of nature, a recovery of some of the fundamental truths we have lost, and to move us away from some of Darwin's greatest mistakes. Darwin was a scientist. Scientists make observations and then they postulate on the pattern that they're seeing. Take, for example, a bird with a particular beak. Darwin interpreted this evolution as an example of what he called survival of the fittest. He saw the special beaks, and he interpreted that this bird was able to outcompete the other birds and therefore had found success due to its own fitness. But this was Darwin's first mistake. For the myth of the iconic individual, the Lone Ranger, the cutthroat ethos that it's rough out here, the idea that the violence of life is natural and that brutality is an underlying truth were fundamental for Darwin. He believed that competition was the very fundamental part of how we succeed. Now, this may seem to make sense, but as we unpack his theories further, we see that he was interpreting the data from the standpoint of individual species, when in fact, as one scientist puts it, individuals and species flourish by evolving ways of supporting mutual survival. Let's go back and look at the bird with its very special beak again. It could be explained also that a bird developed a beak which lets it feed on some part of the plant that the other birds can't reach, which introduces diversity into the population's diet, reducing the strain on a particular food supply and leading to more for all. What of the poor plant, you ask? The birds, much like the bees, are helping the plant by spreading its seeds after eating the fruit. Indeed, Darwin accredited success to competition rather than collaboration. He missed a huge opportunity to lift up the network, which is what's actually responsible for the wellness of any individual or species. And in doing so, he cemented a very dangerous idea in our minds, which has infiltrated our world and probably your thinking about the natural course of things, about who wins and why and how. We humans are fundamentally communal creatures, and our success can almost entirely be attributed to our ability to feel empathy, care for each other, live in groups, and share responsibilities. Even though it is obvious that we as humans have survived because we are able to collaborate, still Darwin's theories of competition seeped into the ever more and more popular ideas of social Darwinism. And unfortunately, Darwin and many people of his time applied the theory of natural selection to not just the flora and fauna, but to the human population as well. Darwin believed things like, and I quote, that there should be open competition for all men, and the most able should not be prevented by laws or customs from succeeding in best and rearing the largest number of offspring. Okay, it's getting a little bit suspect and ableist, but he also said that the weak in mind and body are soon eliminated. He even said that vaccinations were a mixed bag because it lets the weak people survive. Okay, we're getting into some of the deeper issues with this guy, whose theories, I remind you, were wildly popular. But the quote which strikes me the most is that he said that it is not by principles of humanity that people are able to preserve themselves, but solely by means of the most brutal struggle. He didn't say this about animals, he said this about people. He was praising brutal competition as the form of survival in our species, even though we are fundamentally social, empathetic, and spiritual beings. These principles of natural selection, as you can imagine, were soon and eagerly, and to his approval, used to bolster and explain a racially based caste system, where there are ideal specimens and the natural elimination of the weak. His own apologism for supremacy systems has been destructive and so divisive to the human community on a large scale. Think about it. His name is widely known, his science incredibly popular, and yet, are you actually surprised to learn that Darwin believed that the white race was more advanced and that because on average men's brains are bigger, they were smarter? Now, I refuse to repeat some of the things I read in researching this sermon, the ways that this principle of survival of the fittest has been used to degrade and dehumanize Black and brown and Jewish people in the world, but I don't have to repeat it because we see this brutal spirit of competition every which way we look, even today. Firstly, we see it in how the Trump-era refugee restrictions were held strong this week, allowing just 15,000 people a year to immigrate to our country. Imagine that you went through a small town on a road trip that said a city had 15,000 people in it. You'd be like, this is a fairly small town. Why are we, the United States, stooping to this minimal level of support for people to find safety and a home here? What myth of scarcity and brutal competition would result in us cutting ourselves off from mutual aid with the rest of the world? Remember, there is enough land, water, and air to feed, clothe, and support the lives of every single person and animal on this planet at this moment. So why is there a sense that this nation can only survive through brutal tactics? Why are people still being kept in detention centers? You don't have to keep kids in cages. You don't even have to detain people at the border. What's this sense of competition really? And how does it tear us apart? Again, we've seen the survival of the fittest in the murder trial we just went through for 4 weeks, even though we all saw it happen. The man with his knee on the neck of another makes him the strongest and the bestest and the winner. That it's somehow natural that some people or some races and some species survive through their own fitness and brutality is that big mistake that we are still suffering from today. It's such a big mistake that it has and will continue to have devastating effects on us as a globe, as environmental stewards, as the beloved community, if we remain chained to such a fearful and scarce mindset. Because get this, even beyond the disturbing ways that these principles have been applied to humans, survival of the fittest isn't even the fullness of how it works in the natural world. As we showed before, it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most symbiotic. It's the survival of the most connected. It's the survival of the whole. It's survival of those who get on a deep, deep level that if we destroy the other, we destroy ourselves. That anytime we dispose of the other, we tear that interdependent web a little bit more. For even the lion knows to respect the healthy antelopes as a partner in her own survival. Even the very beak of the bird leaves space for the wellness of the other species. Even the giant Galapagos tortoises are dependent on the tiny birds who clean them, and those tiny birds reliant upon the tortoises for food. We must move past these brutal and disturbing interpretations of what is natural for people and what is success for people, and instead raise up what is the most natural and successful thing in the world, which is to build networks of support. This is what we do here at church. We create a community where it is so much less likely that someone will fall through the cracks, where we seek to acknowledge the ways that these disturbing ideas of superiority infiltrate us in our norms, because we know that it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the whole. We know that we humans have survived for so long because we are collaborators, because we do lift up those who struggle. We don't leave the elderly, those who are crying out to be heard. It is through our humanity that we survive. We actually are hardwired to keep each other and even other species alive. There's so many stories. The story of the man who at the last second dove onto the subway tracks to cover the body of someone having a seizure. And when asked how he could have said that, he said, "I didn't even think." Or the story that recently happened in Florida, where 2 adults had gone out to save a child who was too far, and one of the grown-ups got stranded. And so the strangers on the beach immediately formed a human chain and brought them back to shore. These are our instincts, not brutality. We are naturally good. We are instinctively loving. Our willingness to know the other and find collaboration is how we have gotten to this point. We can even extend this sense of shared survival with the natural world. And this, all of our abilities to collaborate with each other as a globe, this will be our way forward to caring for the earth. For as we develop our own eco-theologies, as we root out ways within ourselves to find the theories of supremacy which inform our feelings and ourselves about others, as we ask ourselves the fundamental religious and scientific questions, what is our place in the universe? What are humans? How do we exist as humans with others and with the rest of the ecosystem? And what are we called to do with this earth? How should we be with the interdependent web of all life? We are invited in this moment to bear witness to the actual laws of science, which draw us out of our individualism and supremacy systems and towards that interdependent web. In the national conversation about racism, I saw a post on Facebook that said, "It shouldn't have to happen to you to matter to you." And I think this is the fundamental crux of what it means for us to be humans who are unbecoming who we aren't, to shed some of those deep beliefs about brutality and competition and instead kneel before the earth and ask, "Earth, teach us reverence for life. Earth, teach me to lift my people up. Earth, teach me about the survival of the whole. Earth, teach me to love myself and the soft animal of my body and the bodies of all the flora and fauna. Earth, teach me to value life above all else." Because we all do better when we all do better. We do better when we open ourselves up to the giving and receiving that is the stuff of life. When we engage in the true communion with others, whoever those others are. When we support the life and growth of those who seem to be in competition for resources, knowing that when we give, we receive. When we receive, we give. Remembering, above all else, that there is more than enough for everyone. Blessed be, and amen. The work of the church depends on us in the context of global and national, and I will add environmental strife. SMUUCh can create and foster space for connection and healing. Please enjoy this stewardship testimony. We invite you to give generously to the ongoing work of the church. The link to make your pledge is in the video description and on the website.
Hi, I'm Rachel McElhaney, and this is my husband, Travis. SMUUCh matters to us because inclusiveness is important. We give to SMUUCh because we want them to continue to provide a safe space for Scout Troop 67 to meet. Our son, Wes, wasn't fully comfortable in any of the Scout troops he tried until he joined the troop here at SMUUCh. It's important to have an inclusive space for all kids who want to be Scouts.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please join us in our closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
This week, if you encounter an other, try lifting them up. If you find someone who you feel competition with, try lifting them up, knowing that lifting them lifts you, lifts us. Go in peace.